Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our afternoon read aloud. As you know, we're reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you so much for that feedback you gave me yesterday. It is so nice to hear that some of you are enjoying this. It makes me feel like I'm actually talking to someone. There's someone on the other end. I'm not just screaming into a screen. So I will definitely continue to do this. We'll read another classic piece of children's literature after we're done with Charlie, and we'll talk a little bit more about Charlie when we finish it. I was always so interested in this story because it is so crazy and absurd, and our author, Roald Dahl, has to have like one of the most creative brains to come up with a story like this. So this always interested me. I did papers on it when I went into college because I was so fascinated with this story. And it is a classic piece of children's literature. So I'm happy you're enjoying it. And before we start reading, I want you to think about Willy Wonka. So here he is. He's smiling here. And I told you he's one of the craziest characters in children's literature history. And I just want you to think about, do you think he's happy or is he sad? So right away I would say, oh, he's happy. Look how happy he is. Chocolate Factory, he's doing awesome. But maybe he's not that happy. And I wonder what you think. Does he seem like a happy character or not? And you could talk about that with your family. And, I would be curious to know your ideas. But I would argue he isn't happy. And I think we're seeing why coming up soon. So where we left off, they're in the glass elevator, right? Who's left? It's just Charlie and Grandpa Joe and Willy Wonka. And they're in the glass elevator and it went through the ceiling and now they're looking down. Charlie and Grandpa Joe don't know where they're going. Willy Wonka said, "Congratulations, Charlie, you're the winner." We don't know what he won. But now they're looking down and the other children are going home, which was like a relief to me that, hey, they made it out. Because remember, he said, oh, they'll come out in the wash, and we didn't know if they were safe or not. So the other children are going home. They're looking down and they see them walking out of the factory. Willy Wonka said, "Charlie, you're the winner." So let's read chapter 29, The Other Children Go Home. "We must go down and take a look at our little friends before we do anything else," said Mr. Wonka. He pressed a different button and the elevator dropped lower and soon it was hovering just above the entrance gates to the factory. Looking down now, Charlie could see the children and their parents standing in a little group just inside the gates. "I can only see 3, he said. "Who's missing?" "I expect it's Mike TV, Mr. Wonka said, "but he'll be coming along soon." "Do you see the trucks?" Mr. Wonka pointed to a line of gigantic covered vans parked in a line nearby. "Yes," Charlie said. "What are they for?" "Don't you remember what it said on the golden tickets? Every child goes home with a lifetime supply of candy. There's 1 truckload for each of them, loaded to the brim." "Aha," Mr. Wonka went on. "There goes our friend Augustus Gloop. Do you see him? He's getting into the first truck with his mother and father." "You mean he's really all right?" asked Charlie, astonished. "Even after going up that awful pipe?" "He's very much all right," said Mr. Wonka. "He's changed," said Grandpa Joe, peering down through the glass wall of the elevator. "He used to be fat, and now he's thin as a straw." "Of course he's changed," said Mr. Wonka, laughing. "He got squeezed in the pipe, don't you remember? And look, there goes Miss Violet Beauregarde, the great gum chewer. It seems as though they managed to de-juice her after all. I'm so glad. And how healthy she looks, much better than before." "But she's purple in the face," cried Grandpa Joe. "So she is," said Mr. Wonka. "Ah, well, there's nothing we can do about that." "Good gracious," cried Charlie. "Look at poor Veruca Salt and Mr. Salt and Mrs. Salt. They're simply covered with garbage." "And here comes Mike TV," said Grandpa Joe. "Good heavens, what have they done to him? He's about 10 feet tall and as thin as a wire." "They've overstretched him on the gum stretching machine," said Mr. Wonka. "How very careless." "But how dreadful for him," cried Charlie. Now, are the children okay? Sort of. So here they are. We've got Mike TV, who got stretched too much, covered in garbage, Veruca Salt and her parents. Then we have Violet Beauregarde, who is blue in the face, or purple in the face. And then Augustus Gloop, he seems to to be the best one here because he lost some weight. Now he's just skinnier. He used to be really fat, and now he's skinny. He's doing better than anyone else. He doesn't have a purple face or covered in garbage or stretched out too tall like Mike TV. So I wonder how you feel about how the children are now. Does that bother you? It kind of bothers me that they're still, not totally okay. I feel like Willy Wonka, broke a law. He harmed them. He overstretched Mike TV. Poor Mike TV. Nonsense, said Mr. Wonka. He's very lucky. Every basketball team in the country will be trying to get him. But now, he added, it is time we left those 4 silly children. I have something very important to talk to you about, my dear Charlie. Mr. Wonka pressed another button and the elevator swung upwards into the sky. Short chapter. So the children left the factory. Charlie's the only one left. Mr. Wonka was just looking down at them. They're not totally okay, but he said, Mike TV will be able to play basketball. He's super tall now. Oh, okay, I guess. I want you thinking about Willy Wonka, character traits, happy, sad, why not? Talk about that and tune in tomorrow for another chapter.